Hi there. We're going to talk about some brainstorming options on where to get seller leads. So I have gone on and on for 20 years about buyer leads. How do you get them? What do you do with them? Where do you find them? How do you convert them? Well, I'm here to tell you, you probably have too many buyer leads right now. You probably are working too many buyers right now for the number of homes that you'll be able to put them in. As a brief side note on buyer leads, I just want to remind you that you have a very unorthodox moment in time here where you get to build a very strong rapport with your buyers if you set the right tone for them. It is difficult to get a house right now. It is difficult to compete over and over and over again for a property. And so it's going to be more important than ever to stay close to your buyers, continue to reach out to them. It would be very tempting to not reach out to them for 3 weeks because nothing has come on the market meeting their criteria. But you need to resist that temptation and stay in close contact with them right now. They are frustrated. They do not want to feel like you have abandoned them during this period of time. It may be reaching out to them to say, hey, Ralph, just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that I am still checking that hot sheet every day, multiple times. I still have you on an auto search, on a subscription on our MLS. I still have feelers out for coming soon properties. I am definitely still looking. I just know that it can seem like there's a lot of time between properties that match your search criteria. That's just because, again, we've got some restricted inventory right now. We're hopeful that more sellers will see these high sales prices and put their home on the market. And I just wanted to stay in touch with you. I want to let you know I'm still here to support you. And that is going to be critical right now because they are frustrated and it'll be easy for them to sort of fall away. And then when they're ready to buy property again, they either A, remember that they didn't hear much from you during this period of time, or B, you were negative the entire time and their emotional connotation with you now is negativity, even though it's really just you reflecting what the market is doing and trying to build that human commiseration together that you get it. You understand how hard it is to get a house right now, but they're looking to you to be a supporter. So stay in touch with those buyers because you have too many of them right now. And if you're buying leads, it can feel very frustrating because they're just stockpiling up and you don't have anywhere to put them. At some point, something's going to come up that matches their search criteria, and you're going to want to make sure that you have been in contact with them throughout this process. So let's move on to talking about where in the world are you going to get seller leads, because seller leads have always notoriously been harder to find because buyers will tell everybody they know that they're looking to buy a house because they're hoping somebody will say, oh, my cousin was thinking about selling their house. Sellers are quite quiet about thinking about selling their home. They do that because they're afraid they'll have 5 realtors on their front porch the minute they put on Facebook that they're thinking about selling their house. And quite frankly, they're not wrong. They would have 5 listing agents standing, 5 agents standing on their front porch within 10 minutes of them saying on Facebook that they're thinking about selling their home. So they can kind of keep it a little closer to the chest. So what I would like for you to do is look back through all of your past clients. One of our agents shared with me yesterday that she actually has a buyer client and a house she sold to one of her clients a year and a half ago would be perfect. It's in the neighborhood. It matches the search criteria for this buyer. So on a whim, she just called that past client and said, hey, I'm not trying to sound crazy here, but I have a buyer who is willing to purchase your home. I don't want to say sell your house, but have you thought about it? And actually, this past client said, actually, we had been talking about it. We're seeing what houses are selling for. And we were thinking about actually moving with so-and-so's job. So yeah, can you come over and talk to us about it? So not only have they now found, and she never thought that they'd be ready to sell a year and a half after they purchased. And keep in mind, if you sell under 2 years of owning it, there could be some capital gains implications. So you want to be very aware of that. You don't have to know what the tax implications would be. You just have to know to mention to your seller, hey, I know you haven't owned this for 2 years, so please reach out to your tax accountant or your CPA and find out what the tax implications might be if you sell in under 2 years. Now, if they are able to pocket an extra 30 grand in this market, it might be worth it to them to do it anyway. Again, you just want to be a resource for them. You're not telling them what to do. You're just bringing all the resources to them so they can make a more educated decision. So when you go back and talk to all of your past sales clients, absolutely talk to the ones who bought with you 5 to 7 years ago. Very likely they have at least had some conversations about selling or not selling. Now they may say to you, no way, Ashley, we actually have been talking about how we are so glad we bought when we bought because we would never want to try to buy a house in this market right now. Great. You had an opportunity to reach out to them. You had an opportunity to connect with them. So all past sales clients across the board, everybody you've ever sold a house to. And then you can go on to the CRS tax data that's connected to RVAR's MLS, and you can use the prospecting tool. And you can go into the prospecting tool and put in all sorts of search criteria so that it will produce for you a list of properties in an area that match the criteria you asked for. If it's an owner occupant, if it is not an owner occupant, if it has been owned for X numbers of years, you can put in the date range you want. If it is a certain square footage, if it's a certain number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Now, this is obviously a great tool if you have a buyer who's looking for something specific, but it's also a great tool if you're just looking for a prospecting list to go out and try to find listings. So I have a video on the YouTube channel that walks you all the way through how to use the CRS tax data, which is a member benefit that's connected to our MLS. It shows you how to use the prospecting tool on that CRS tax data thing. It is completely free to you. It is a member benefit. And you have a certain number of addresses you're allowed to download for free. And it's quite a lot. So you certainly can then upgrade and purchase more addresses to purchase. But if you're just prospecting in a neighborhood and you're going to end up weeding that list down to maybe, 50 properties, and you're going to go door knock on those 50 properties to say, hey, have you thought about selling your home? Try not to be creepy. Try not to say things like, I see here you bought your house November 24th, 2000. Would you be interested in selling your home? That's going to come off a little big brother, a little like you've been skulking around on the internet too much. Instead, make the list and come up with a multiple prong campaign in order to try to convert them into a listing. So that's going to include door knocking, include dropping off maybe a comparative market analysis to indicate to them how much their home is worth now. They may have no idea. Do yourself a favor and look and see what Zillow is saying first. You certainly want to know what they are seeing on the internet about the value of their home before you take a CMA. It's going to help with your conversation. If Zillow is way above your comparative market analysis listing price recommendation, you need to know that. And if Zillow is way below it, you need to know that too. I still find that sellers in this market are still very confused about the difference between the county or city's appraised or assessed value versus market value versus a lender's appraised value. So I think there really is an opportunity for education there, which would give you an additional reason to go back and visit those sellers. Buyer leads are another great way to produce listing leads for yourself. If you are paying for leads or receiving leads for free through OpCity, I use the term free. You have to pay a referral fee to OpCity. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, reach out to me or Donna or Jennifer. We can explain it to you and get you set up for leads from OpCity for a referral fee to OpCity, not to us. Buyer leads, if you're bringing in all those buyer leads, one of the most important questions you need to be asking them is, do they have a home to sell? Do they have a home to sell that they might like for you to come out and take a look at and just give a listing price recommendation for? And then one step further, when you're talking to them about their search criteria, say to them, do you know of a home that you would like to purchase? Do you know of a home perhaps to a family or friend member that you would like to purchase? I'd be more than happy to reach out to them for you. Perhaps they're ready to list their house for sale. And then once the buyer leads have conveyed to you whether or not they have a listing that may be coming up, you want to categorize that. We're going to get into that in our CRM platform, but you want to categorize them in your CRM, your client relationship manager platform, to indicate that. That is potentially a client who has 2 pieces of business to do with you. Okay. And then the buyer leads friends and family. Keep digging at that. Everybody knows somebody who's thinking about selling their house. And it's your job as sort of a detective to go out and find the listings. So when you're talking to these buyer leads, number one, they're actively engaged in real estate right now. They're looking at buying a house. So they're on Zillow, they're on realtor.com, they're perhaps going to open houses. Right now, real estate is at the top of their mind, okay? So you need to strike while the iron's hot on them, because they're already walking, breathing, talking real estate right now. So their antenna are up about real estate. So current buyers can be an excellent source of listing leads. And it doesn't mean you're going to get a listing, but it may mean you may get a tip that could lead to a listing. And that is so much a part of what we have to do, is just trying to sluice out where there might be some business. Okay. So I want to open it up, ask if anybody has anything to contribute on that, any questions I can answer, and then we'll move on to the CRM platform piece of today's training. Anybody? Is anybody doing any lead generating for listings right now? And if so, please share, if you care to share with us, what are your tips for trying to find seller leads? Y'all are classically quiet on the 9 a.m. call. The 10 a.m. call, everybody is warmed up and chatting away. Anastasia says, crickets. Yep. Well, see, that's why y'all are here, because you obviously have no idea how to get seller leads. So I did not either, until all of a sudden I really needed seller leads. And then it became, I've got one set of clients who they only want a true mid-century modern home. And I will send them homes that are on the market, and they'll say, well, it's definitely mid-century, but it's not modern. And I'm like, okay, we're looking for a unicorn here. We're looking for a true mid-century modern home. And I can tell you that is not a search criteria box to check a box on MLS. So it really just requires me going out to neighborhoods that happen to have been developed during that time, and hoping the people inside those homes have not fully remodeled that mid-century modern ranch. It has been a needle in a haystack, and it has been difficult to find, but I sold their house too fast. What are you going to do? Put it on the market and it's sold. So, and that is a lot of sellers' hesitation right now. Their hesitation is that, well, yeah, Ashley, you're going to sell my house in 2 days, but then what am I going to do? So until we can start to get more listings to the market, I don't see inventory improving. Okay, I'm going to give you one more tip about finding seller leads. And it didn't even bubble up to my knowledge until I was at the elementary school bus stop this morning. So I was at the elementary school bus stop this morning looking not put together, but I think that is, that's the bus stop rule. You get to come as you are at 7:10 in the morning. So one of the bus stop parents said, hey, can I talk to you when we're, after the bus is gone? And I said, sure. She and her husband have a few investment properties, and they are watching the sale prices on homes. And so they want me to come look at one of their investment properties where the tenant has they've just not renewed the lease on the tenant and have decided to see what they can get for that house. So investors would also be an excellent place to go look for listing leads. Yes, maybe they're making $300 a month on in profit having a tenant in there, but they might be able to put it on the market right now and make an extra 40 grand than they would make in any other market. So that could be very tempting to an investor. So if you have any investor clients, that would be an excellent place to go. Go back to that database. And this is why it is so important for you to have a client relationship manager. If you've got 300 sphere of influence people in there, past clients, potential clients, friends of friends, family members, all of that, and you have taken the time to label them properly. If your investors have a tag in there that they are investors, you could very quickly go to your CRM and reach out to all of your investors and say, hey, I am sure you're paying attention to what the sale prices are right now. And I'm just curious if there are any of your properties you would want to put on the market right now. Maybe the leases are up, maybe the leases are month to month. Maybe you'd like to list it and just see what we can get for it. And you might be surprised. In this case, it looks like if they go ahead and list with me, then this 3-bedroom, 1-bath in Salem, which has had a tenant in it, is about to come back into probably an owner-occupant home. Because an investor is not going to pay what I think an owner-occupant is willing to pay in this market right now. So hopefully everybody cross their fingers for me and you, because that means there'll be a listing on the market that you can potentially take a buyer to. So that is another one that hadn't even occurred to me until I had that conversation at the school bus stop this morning. So also a great big duh moment for me that I knew they owned investment properties and it didn't occur to me to mention it to her. Y'all, I will never tell y'all I'm doing everything right, for sure. Okay, let's move on. Unless anybody has any questions, we'll move on to how to maximize your CRM platform, how to maximize that client relationship manager. And I'm not going to teach today on any certain one because there are dozens of client relationship manager platforms. And there are certainly hybrid platforms that also include lead generation, that also include transaction management, dialers, where you can dial right out of the client relationship manager platform. There are ones that are friendlier for teams. There are ones that are friendlier for solo agents. There are ones that will, connect with other extensions and apps and things that can be used. So the client relationship manager is something that is always evolving. And I will tell you that I got caught up in something last week where another firm here in town was one of their agents was advertising properties on Facebook that did not belong to them. Now, advertising properties that you do not have listed or that you do not have permission to advertise is a Realtor Code of Ethics violation. It gets into truth in advertising. But in this case, I'm telling you, we will never make rules ahead of creative types, okay? So in this case, those were being syndicated to Facebook by the client relationship manager part of this firm's IDX website. So IDX is an internet data exchange where all brokers have agreed to let each other's agents advertise their listings on any sort of IDX platform. That has always been a website. That's how Donna can have a website that displays the full MLS. Under her website, under her banner, that is the IDX allowing that to happen. Well, this IDX platform happens to also syndicate advertising. So since it is an IDX product, it actually is allowed and it is not a Realtor Code of Ethics violation. So this agent is able to share listings on her Facebook feed and it is not a violation. Now, there were several agents in town who thought it was a violation and I had to get down in there and figure it all out. And when we finally peeled back the onion and realized it was an IDX product, it's perfectly allowed. I've never seen that type of product before, but I can tell you what, there are 2 or 3 agents who were upset last week who were have now scheduled demos with that company because they want to be able to do it too. And that is exactly how things happen. So now the MLS board is going to have to take a look at, okay, is it time to rewrite the IDX rules? Is it not time to rewrite the IDX rules? Just trying to stay abreast of the changes in the market. So, and anytime a bunch of agents think another agent has a leg up, they're going to want in on that too. So I don't blame them. So I certainly see that product becoming more popular, because if it's going to syndicate listings, and the whole point is to make it look like that agent has that listing. Although if you click on it, there is attribution, because IDX requires attribution. It requires the platform to identify who is the listing firm. And that is one of the rules of IDX. So just wanted to touch on that and say, CRMs can get that complicated, y'all. They can get that robust. They can get that involved. Now you're looking at $1,000 a month for a CRM platform. But if you're working on a team, or you're doing high volume, or you're using it for your lead generation and you're not spending money on leads elsewhere, this could become a part of your business. Now, I pay for a CRM that is $139 a month. That's my pain point. I am happy to do that. I don't have the time nor the energy to dedicate to working my CRM and working that platform as much as I would have to if I were doing a giant outlay of cash every month. Do I feel like it would be worth the investment? Yes. Do I feel like I would work it to its full capacity? I wouldn't. And then I would just be wasting money. But I also understand, y'all know, I have a full-time job. So I am sort of a part-time agent, if you will, because I have to do it when I'm not actively running the company, which is totally fine. But I'm not going to do a $1,000 a month CRM platform. That doesn't suit my business model correctly. So the one I'm using, Anastasia, I'm using Market Leader. Several agents at the firm use Market Leader. I'll let you know. Market Leader is one of the ones where it needs an IDX feed. So IDX feeds, and Jeremy and I had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, because it can be tempting to say, okay, I'm new, I got to get a CRM, I got to get a website. All of that is great, and you should be doing that. But the IDX is a complicated set of rules, meaning if you want to use an IDX product, you have to choose one that the firm is already using, or I have to agree to join another IDX vendor, because the IDX rules also require the firm to be the primary customer of that IDX vendor, which gets very confusing when I have 6 or 7 firm websites on the internet. And they all have to be able, they have to be there, they have to be running. So that is a very challenging rule that is with these IDX vendors. And it's because the IDX feed is the raw, unfiltered feed. We can't let just anybody have that. If they accidentally display owner name or owner phone number or some piece of confidential information that's on, like private remarks, the private remarks may very well have a door code on it, or where the hide key is. So we certainly cannot just give the IDX feed to just anybody. So that is why getting a CRM that has the IDX piece with it is important, but it can also be a little cumbersome. However, I will tell you, if you reach out to me and ask, I have an email already set up explaining all the different vendors we already belong with, and you're welcome to peruse any of them. And I try to have an assortment of price points so that I don't just have 2. I have probably 6 vendors that we already have working agreements with. Okay. So to be most effective on your CRM, like any tool, the more you fill it out, the more you can do with it. So if you are going to dedicate your time to a CRM platform, which quite frankly can be business changing for you, then you need to put in the time commitment. It is a lot of upfront work. You need to get all of your people entered into the system. And when you're doing it, I want you to make sure you're taking the time to fully fill out all of the fields for your client, your past client. or a customer, anybody who comes in on an open house, anybody who reaches out to you on your Facebook business page. Get them in that CRM with as much information as you can possibly put in there. And the reason why is when it's National Puppy Day and you've got tags in there for everybody who's a dog owner, you can send out a text message in the morning very easily to everyone in your database who has a dog. Now, I'm warning you, somebody will get back to you and say, oh, I'm so sorry, Snoopy died last month. Okay, that's very sad. And you've got an opportunity then to tell them how sad that is. But you have an opportunity to tag everyone in your CRM with multiple criteria that will allow you more flexibility to reach out to them. Okay, you can even do silly things. Like you can do a poll on your Facebook business page and ask people if they're a cake person or a pie person, right? And then take the votes from that, go back to your CRM and indicate in there who's a pie person and who's a cake person, okay? Then when it's National Pie Day, you can drop a pie on their front porch. There is so much you can do with your CRM that is creative, that doesn't feel salesy. It is just about knowing your clientele better. If you're doing it right, you know more about your clients than you know about your cousin, okay? That's how it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to be the expert on that client because you're trying to create a connection with them that lets them know you know them and that you're going to be looking out for their best interests and you're going to have your eye out always for their real estate needs. Now, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, absolutely have their birthdays in there. Have their home anniversary in there. I stay away from wedding anniversaries. I think that can be a little bit of dangerous waters, you know. I would never want to be the person who sends them an anniversary note and they're like, well, bad news, Ashley, because now they feel like they have to let me in on some sort of private matter. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Okay. So instead, I stick with house anniversary. When did they purchase their home? Okay. And then absolutely, you need to reach out to them on those dates. Now I'm going to move into mom mode. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. You need to make your bed every day so you feel productive. I'm going to tell you, I never make my bed. And my bed's on the 3rd floor, so I don't even make it when we're having people over. But you know you need to be working your CRM daily. I don't care when you do it, but studies have shown if you do it first thing, you're going to have more of a productive day. You all know that stuff gets in the way when you decide you're going to do it in the afternoon. So if you can do it first thing in the morning, and that just means hop on your CRM. And if you're using a good CRM product, it's going to have already given you some notifications and already maybe tagged some things that need to happen that day. Okay. So you need to get on your CRM every single day. And if you want to never worry about having business, you need to commit to putting a certain number of people in your CRM every single day. Because what's going to happen is if you have a day and you're like, I literally don't know anybody else to put in here, it's going to motivate you to go over to Facebook and put up a poll about cake versus pie. It's going to motivate you to go try to stir up some business somewhere because you know you need to meet your quota and you need to put one person in that database every day. That's 365 contacts in that database every single year. So in 3 years, you have over 1,000 people in your database. And it's just out of practice. Y'all know this. It's just practice, 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 and doing what you know you should be doing. And then you want to work within that CRM every day. Maybe it's what I would call non-money-making day, where you go in and you just start really making sure that the drip market campaign, and that's just a fancy term for auto emails that are going to go out to them. Look at your drip market campaign. Make sure those emails are saying what you want them to say. They're going to come preloaded with some scripted ones. You need to get in there and customize those. Please don't act like this is a crock pot and just set it and forget it, okay? You need to get in there and customize all the parts. You need to get in every email that's already been scripted for you and make them your own, okay? It needs to have your voice in it. And then once you've done that, that's your day to be, that's a non-money day in my mind. Don't have too many of those. You need money days. Money days are the days where you get on the phone and you call 15 of the people that are in your database. And you just call them to say, hey, it's February, it's birthday month. Just wanted to call you and tell you, I know it's your birthday month. And I hope the whole month you get snuggles and cake. Okay. That is a perfect reason to call everybody in your database who has a birthday in February. That doesn't mean you can't still call them or still send them a text message on their actual birthday, but it gives you an excuse to call them during the entire month of February. Those are money days in my mind, because you're actively prospecting when you're calling people. And you can say, hey, it's February, it's your birthday month. You want to give yourself the best birthday present ever? You want to sell your house and buy a new one? You're a real estate agent. They know that. It's not going to seem weird. It might seem cheesy, but it's not going to seem weird if you bring it back to real estate. Okay. And I understand that that is cheesy. I get it. I'm now 49. I don't care about being cheesy anymore. I have no one left to impress. My children have decided I'm not cool, so it doesn't matter anymore. I'm just going to be cheesy. So then after you've labeled and tag them as many ways as you can. Okay. And every CRM has its own system for that. Then I want you to make sure you're setting up follow-up tasks in your CRM for every client you have. When they buy a house from you, you need to go into their contact card and you need to now update their information. They now have a new mailing address. They now have a house anniversary date. And you need to go ahead and set a follow-up task. I don't care if you're setting that follow-up task for 2 years from now, so that you can call them and say, hey guys, good news. You've owned your house for 2 years. You now can sell your house anytime you wish, and you will not have any capital gains implications. Just letting you know. Didn't know if you knew that was a rule or not. Congrats on the house anniversary. When you guys are ready, I know you'll reach out to me. Have you had any thoughts about it lately? Put that task in there. 2 years from now, when you go, holy mackerel, has it been 2 years already? I can't believe that's already come up. You're going to thank 2 years ago, Ashley, for having put that task in there to pop up for you 2 years later to say, hey, it's time to call Cheryl and James and find out if they're wanting to sell their house and remind them that their capital gains period of time is up. Okay. Follow-up tasks for every single person. Even if that follow-up task is send a happy Thanksgiving text, something for each person. That way, you know, you are touching every single member of that CRM frequently. Okay. All right. Who has questions? Who has tips, please? I know it seems like I'm just telling you what you already know. It really does work. There's a reason why people do it. There's a reason why logging your food works, y'all. There's a reason why if you have a partner who's going to meet you at the gym, you show up. It's the parts of human nature we cannot ever get away from, doing what we're supposed to do is always the challenge. It's not knowing what we should be doing. It's doing it. All right, you big bunch of quiet people. Who's got something to add? Anything? Y'all know I can keep talking.
Hi, it's Deb.
Hi, Deb.
Got a question on Market Leader. They have a newsletter that goes out every month.
Uh-huh.
You can click the little button that says featured properties, but they're close to anywhere around us. And is that the same as putting somebody else's stuff on there?
So you could put a featured property on your newsletter. It's smartest for it to be your own listing, but in this market, you probably don't have a listing. So then to comply with the Realtor Code of Ethics rules, it would need to be a property that you have permission from the listing agent. And I would say written permission from the listing agent to use. And there has to be attribution on there, listing provided by Donna Wright with Wainwright and Company Realtors.
Okay, because it automatically picks the properties. You can't.
And it could be, Deb, that is an IDX tool. And so it might skirt that rule, but it's probably a best business practice, because I'm sure you could switch it. I'm sure you could manually say, I don't want to do that one. I want to do a different one.
Yeah, you can manually.
Yes. So I would say a best business practice would be to hand select one that you have permission to advertise.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Anybody else have any questions at all? Newsletters are a great idea. People have gotten away from them because they're kind of old school, but quite frankly, if you've got your database set up, and let's say you've got all your folks also organized by neighborhood, and I've got like 10 people in Wasena, and I want to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to go see if the climbing gym has a special going on. And if they've got a special going on for the month of July for the climbing wall, maybe I want to put that special, showcase that special in my newsletter. And I'm going to send that newsletter to my Wasena people. You really can get very creative with it. And it can look very polished and very professional. And it is a way to just educate them on their own neighborhood and be the local expert. I know there are not enough hours in the day, y'all. Y'all know I know that. So I'm not saying do all the things. I'm going to bring you all the things, and then y'all pick the couple of things that you think you can consistently do and consistently work with. Okay, anybody have anything else? I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop recording